Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Series. I'm your host, Captain Matt, and today we've got another pontoon review for you, the Sylvan Mirage 820 CNF. Now, this boat was at the Greenville Boat Show, and this is the actual boat that I reviewed and inspected for you. So the stats on this one, 20 feet, 10 inches overall length. The beam, 96 inches or 8 feet. The standard beam on a pontoon is 8.5. So this is the little bit narrower beam. Definitely a value boat. Max horsepower of 90 horsepower. Dry weight 1875. Fuel capacity is 21 pounds. The tube diameter is 23. The standard that I like to see is 25, but again, with this being a smaller pontoon, the 23 allows them to keep the price down, and depending on the water that you're boating on, that may not be an issue in the load that you're taking with you. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The tube gauge, so the thickness of those tubes is 0.08 mils. And the value, like I said, is definitely a value level pontoon, but it is a step up from Smoker Craft's other brand, Sunchaser, which you can see some reviews on the channel as well there. So let's give you kind of just a rundown of the history of Sylvan. They were started in the 1940s near Sylvan Lake in Wolcotteville, Indiana. And they were then bought by the former owner of Starcraft, Harold Schrock, in the 70s. At that point, the family had sold off Starcraft. Later, they repurchased that brand. But now they're owned by Smokercraft, who also owns the Smokercraft, Sylvan, Sunchaser, Starcraft, American Angler, and Star Weld. And they're still owned by the Schrock family and the Smoker family, with Doug Smoker being the president and Phil Smoker being the vice president of sales. So very much a family-owned dealer or family-owned manufacturer. And they're built in New Paris, Indiana, along with all of the other brands that they build. And Sylvan kind of revolutionized the playing with tunes to get better performance. Back in the early mid-2000s, they came out with the revolutionary planing technology tubes. They're RPT tubes, which are patented and still an offering, although they've come up with some better solutions as well with the tri-toons and the speed. So let's take a look at the warranty. This is a pretty standard warranty for all of the Smokercraft brands, and they say best in the industry. They do have a limited lifetime warranty on the decks, tubes, transom. So basically anything from the plywood decking down, there's a lifetime warranty there. 6 years limited warranty on the carpet, the upholstery, the vinyl, all of the other components, electronics, everything else on the boat, which is not the best in the industry. There are several other manufacturers that have extended the warranty period out, but overall a decent warranty. Check the fine print. The things like transferable to the second owner is nice, but what's the cost of that? Parts and labor included is the way it should be, but what I don't know is it a tiered system? So every year, is it 100%? They'll cover the cost of the parts, labor, or is it a tiered down system where over the 6 years, it goes from 100% in year 1, 80% in year 2, 60% in year 3, and on down the line? Some of them can be structured that way. So definitely ask those questions and talk to the dealer if you're looking new. Now, this is the actual boat that I inspected at the boat show. So you can see as we go through. We're brought to you by the U.S. Boat Expo. You can check that out. It's a great program where I interviewed over 20 experts in the industry to give you the inside information that's going to help avoid the overwhelm, the misinformation, the mistrust that's out there, so that you can be 100% confident in buying your next boat. So let's take a look at the interior. So this is a fish model. And you can see the 2 fishing chairs in the back, but I really like how they've got the L-shaped couch so that you also are very suitable for entertaining. And again, this is a value level model, but they still have the nice accent upholstery. And I think it was a very well done pontoon. Taking a look, the hinges that they use on this little compartment here, which could come into a changing station. I'll show you that when it opens up. But nice full-length piano hinges, which is really the best quality that you can put, the best style, because it's going to support that whole section. And again, if you do put that changing station in there, which you can see, there's the storage, but off this little part will flip up here and give you a big curtain that hangs down. You've also got the two full-length gas assist struts, so that's going to hold that compartment up if you are using it as a changing room, and that had a lot of support structure to it. Those were nice, strong gas assist shocks there. Which is good to see. A little bit closer look at the interior and the layout. So in the back, you've got your live well and your fishing gear, your little cutting board table, but you still have your cup holders. And again, a good combination of fishing and entertaining. You can see it gets a little bit tight with the table in there, but that table is removable. And you've got storage up under all of these seats here, and a pretty nice, comfortable Helm seat there as well. Taking a look from this angle up front, it almost looks like when you cut those fishing chairs out, I mean, it also looks like just a traditional pontoon. Which is great if you want to do the fishing and yet you also are going to go out on the water. It's a great setup. We'll look at that Helm a little closer here in just a little bit. But, it's a nice setup with the flooring that they have there, and we'll talk about the upholstery too. Here's another look how the fishing chairs kind of offset, so you still have access to the water through the gate here. And then you've got your, like I said, your rod holders, your cutting board for cutting up your fish and, measuring so you're only keeping the keepers. But it's a well done, a well thought out layout. And then again, this is your live well. You can see it's going to pump in, and then this little tube, you stick in this hole, it will plug it, but aerate it and make sure that it doesn't overfill. If you want to keep your bait in there, the fish that you catch, you can keep that all in there. And then this isn't a very good picture, but what I wanted to show you here is the speaker cover. I really like how they do this. This is under one of the seats, and there's a speaker here that is facing this way. Whoa, that's facing that way, out to the cockpit of the boat. But this little plastic cover, it's a really inexpensive piece, but it's nice because it protects those speaker wires. So if you throw gear in there, your life jackets, dock lines, whatever, you're not going to yank those speaker wires out. It's a little thing, probably just a couple of bucks piece, but they had that on every speaker. It's just a cheap little plastic cover, but I really like that. Now, again, the hinges, you can see the not very good picture here, but you've got the hinges that allow the seat to kind of flip-flop, a very standard hinge. It's one that Smokercraft uses on almost all of their pontoon seats that have that setup. Now, taking a look at the upholstery, what I like to do when I look at the upholstery is just kind of give it a squeeze and feel the thickness and the quality of it, and then also look at the stitches. So Sylvan does their double stitching, and you can see that those are nice quality stitches, and that would make sense because this is definitely the upgraded line that Smokercraft has for their pontoons, even though this is more of a value model with being that smaller size. So let's take a look here at the next one, and this is their accent vinyl. So this has, you can see a little bit of texture to it, and again, the that double stitching, which means that stitching is going to hold together better as long as you take care of it well. You don't want to use anything that's abrasive and it's going to start degrading these stitches. That's something that happens a lot. People use some harsh chemicals or a magic eraser and they hit these real hard, and that's when you're going to start having some problems. But overall, a really well done upholstery on this fishing model. The helm, a nice helm that's made of fiberglass, finished fiberglass. Your little windshield, which is going to break that wind just a little bit. You've got your stereo controls, really all the gauges that you need. You've got your tachometer, or your tachometer here and your speedometer, and you've got your fuel gauges in. I think this is the fuel gauge, and that is the trim gauge. And then you have 3 additional gauges which are blank on this model. But really, with the boat that's rated up to a 90 horsepower, there's really not much need for anything else. Your trim you're gonna get to do by feel. Once you understand how that works, you've got a charging cigarette charger there for your phones and any accessories. And then here you've got your switches for your stereo, your live well, your horn, your anchor and navigation lights, and then you've got your binnacle mount. Throttle controls right here, which is, this boat was rigged with the Mercury. These are Mercury controls with your trim switch, and just a nice, simple but nice helm station that's going to be nice and durable. And you still have some places, if you want to mount some electronics, you can do that. A fish finder would mount nicely here, which is great. Now, this boat's rated for 9 people, 1,210 pounds, and you can see it's rated up to a 90 horse outboard. So the capacity plates, so you know, are whichever comes first. So if you have 9 people that are 100 pounds, you're at your limit. Or if you have 6 people that are 200 pounds, you're at your limit. So that's how that will work that's how the Coast Guard will look at it anyway, if you are get pulled over. Now let's take a look at the construction of this, because although this is a value pontoon with the size, it does have some nice upgrades, and it's a well-built tune. So what you're looking at here is that nose cone, and what I like to look at is the welds. You can see that's definitely hand welded here, but they're pretty well done. Couple, that's a little irregular right there, and then they've got the splash guard, which is going to keep that water from splashing up and spraying into the boat. You can see that's got a nice finished edge to it, and the welds are underneath, and it looks very nice. And that's what you're looking for. This section is 4 feet long, which is a good that length is going to give you a nice sharp angle here of this nose cone to kind of slice through the chop. The splash guard is going to keep that water splashing down. So that's how I would want that to look. If you are shopping for a boat, make sure that you pick up our free toolkit at boatbuyersecretweapon.com/toolkit. You can grab that for free. A lot of great information in there. Again, looking at that splash weld, you can see it's got that finished edge around the whole section, which means if the kids are out in the water and they happen to grab onto that fin, which they will do, I promise you, I've got little girls, and that means that they're not going to cut their finger on anything there. So a nice little upgrade. Now, here is a weld that I want to look at on the pontoon, so you can see very much hand done. So you can imagine this is on a little roller, and that part of the weld's looking pretty good, but up top, that's not how you really want that weld to look. You want that just to be nice, consistent stream all the way down. But again, because most boats are very much handmade in every aspect, there's only a handful of manufacturers that have robotics to do some of the welding, specifically on the tubes. This is something that you definitely want to check, because every pontoon is going to be different. So just go through it and check. I'm not sure if Sylvan pressure tests their tubes or not, but you do want to make sure that you're not getting water in the tubes, and just something to pay attention to over time, that those welds are good and solid. And if you see anything, it's probably just going to be a small pinhole that would happen. But just pay attention and check those out on any pontoon that you're looking at. So another section where you want to check kind of the thickness, and that's a nice thickness for the motor mount, or on the transom of the boat where the motor will hang. And again, we're looking at the welds. That weld right there is not, it's not as clean as I would hope. And you can see they're kind of doubling up there to make that a little bit thicker. The weld down this section is much better. But you want to look to see, how thick is that engine mount, because that's where all the torque and the stress is going to be on the boat. And again, check those welds back there. If it's a used boat and you're looking at one of these, a couple years down the line, you want to check and make sure there's no cracks that are happening here, because those cracks could be a potential issue down the line. Again, some more welds. This is much better, much cleaner, much more consistent there on that section of the engine mount. Now, when we're looking at the construction of the boat, what I look for is, okay, how thick and durable are the channels or the beams that go across the width of the boat. So we're looking under the boat now, and this is one of the beams that's going to go the full width of the boat, so that 8 feet wide, and that is a nice thick hat channel. You can see this little flare up there is going to give it more strength. This little U shape gives it some good strength, and that's a nice thickness, and that's bolted down to the bracket that's going to be mounted or welded to the actual tube. So that is a nice look. You can see another one here that gives you a look at how that's mounted. So this bracket right here is welded onto the pontoon, which is right there. The other thing I like is on these Sylvans is they do have a nice corner cap. That's most likely the spot that when you're coming into the dock, that's going to hit the dock on the front and the transom if you're backing in. So that's nice to have that extra durable spot. And I like how they go through with the cleat, although I'm surprised this dealer didn't upgrade the cleat to an actual cleat and just have this U-bolt. But for a 20-foot fishing pontoon, it's probably not gonna be sitting on the water much, so that's okay. But what I do like is that they go through this finish piece, and then it mounts through the plywood, and that kind of rub rail there. And then if we look underneath, it's mounted with the bolt and the washer, so that just gives it that extra durability. Instead of, sometimes they'll mount just through the plywood, and they'll go a little bit cheaper and not quite as thick on this metal piece right here. And those are ones that 5-10 years down the line, you may see that cleat pull out as that fiberglass gets a little weak, and if you maybe tie it up too tight, a big waves comes in and it can pull that out. But when you do it like this, you definitely get more strength over the long haul. The other thing that I like that Sylvan does on this boat is they bring these braces, these beams, almost all the way out to the edge, to that rub rail, to that finishing rub rail piece. And that just means that you're going to have a little bit more sturdiness to the boat, a little bit more rigidity to the boat, because you're coming out that extra 2-3 inches on each side. Doesn't seem like much, but that's where, if you're going to hit something, that's where it's going to hit, and now you've got that extra strength coming all the way through. You can see, because it is kind of that value level, although they do a great job of construction, it's definitely a step up from their Sun Chaser series. You can still see that there's about a 24-inch on center from beam to beam to beam on down the line. As you get more horsepower, that's where I would be more concerned about, okay, now I want those to be a little bit closer together, maybe 16 inches on center there. But with the 90 being the max horsepower, I'm okay with that. And then also, this right here is a finishing piece. So you'll see this bracket here, this bracket there, and there's a space in between. Again, as you get to higher horsepower, I think it's better to have a full-length section here that's welded, spot welded all the way down the tube, and then mounted to these braces or these beams that go across, and that's just going to give more stiffness, more rigidity to the boat. As you get up into higher horsepowers, that's more important. But that finishing piece makes it difficult to see sometimes. So sometimes you really got to get under that boat and look. If it has the aluminum underskin, sometimes you even have to ask the questions because you just can't see it and see exactly what's going on. Very nice ladder. The stainless steel with the 4 steps, which means it's going to get nice deep down into the water. It's a fairly wide ladder. If you can picture yourself pulling yourself up, the more narrow that ladder is, the harder it is to get leverage and pull yourself up. The wider those handles are, the easier it is to get up on the boat. They even make some upgraded ladders that set the steps look the same, or the same width, but they set these grab handles out, about another 2 or 3 inches to give you that extra wide grip. But overall, I really like that stainless steel ladder, and it's nice and sturdy. They mounted it the right way. And again, this is just looking at that finishing piece there. Again, my photo skills are not that great, but this was the price at the show. So regular $29,995. They had a $500 discount at the show. With the way it's set up with the 90 Mercury. So overall, for this Sylvan, I'm going to say it's a nice boat. Even though it's the value kind of size and the value model for Sylvan. Very nice build quality. I really like the way that they've done the boat. Nice upholstery. I really like the fishing setup with the entertaining. So you don't give up a whole lot. You still get your fishing seats and some of the fishing things that you need. But if you live on the lake, if you still like to go out and cruise with the family, and you're not going to fish it all the time, it's a really nice setup. So I think they did a great job there. If you enjoyed this video, we've got a bunch more boat reviews coming out that are going to be very similar to this. I did about 50 of them. So check those for the channel. Subscribe so you can get all of our updates. Grab that toolkit if you're in the market to buy a boat. And if you're thinking about buying a boat in the next 12 months, go check out the Boat Expo, usboatexpo.com. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and that helps more and more people see these videos as we're helping them make the right choice for their boating lifestyle. Remember, life truly is better on a boat.